Okay, a very good afternoon, everyone. This is Sumit Kaur, your MC for today. And yes, we are running a little late, but we are catching up with the time very quickly. We're asking audiences to come and sit here because everybody is in rush of time. But still, MC's job is most tough since we have to bring two things together, the audience and the speaker, and actually add value to them. So, not taking much time, let me introduce our speaker for this event. This is Satyam Singh, manager from Razorpay, and cross-border payments. That's what it is. And Satyam is actually enhancing customer experience and speed with all his skill. So he has started with the DHL, and after almost 4 years, he was shifted to Pioneer and now into Razorpay, adding a lot of value. So all those entrepreneurs and people who look for cross-border payments, Satyam is one-stop solution. He is solving a lot of our problems, especially with the payments cross-border. So over to you, Satyam. Please be here.
Thank you. Folks, we don't have too much audience, so I'm not going to use the mic. I hope that's okay. I'm audible, sir, to you, right, at the end? Just want to understand, is there an interest in cross-border payments here, or the folks have been sent just because the room is empty?
No, they're interested.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, I needed to have that clarity on this, but okay, folks, I do have a deck. I can present it as well, but I'll still take some basic queries. What exactly is it that you're looking out of this session? Very basic. I mean, if you have a question, do you have a question?
Yeah, so like I take a lot of cross-border payments, and my main issue is like with PayPal. Like PayPal has a kind of bullish nature. They are like, okay, we will send your funds, then we will send your funds after this date, and so and so.
And what's your line of business? What exactly is it that you're selling?
I'm selling digital services.
Which are essentially what?
Videos.
Okay, got it. That's one. I'll cover that. Cover that.
Yeah, hi. I just kicked off my own edtech company.
Okay.
So there obviously I do have these transactions and the exchange of payments of domestic and international students. So again, coming to the same question, because Razorpay obviously it is into my mind because I'm getting my website integrated and everything, just started my journey. So Razorpay is obviously I will be considering for the domestic payment, but when it comes to international payments, so the Stripe and PayPal come into my mind. And frankly speaking, being an entrepreneur, I have to calculate each and every expenses that comes to it. And then the Stripe and the PayPal, the transaction charges are quite high if I compare to Razorpay. So yeah, so this is.
I'll cover that. So see, I think we make too much of a rocket science of cross-border payments. Essentially, it's pretty simple, pretty basic, to be honest. There's no rocket science. Essentially, it's a enablement of cards essentially from foreign countries, as simple as that, right? I'll just take you through what I have for this thing. Just give me pretty simple, right? I mean, Razorpay has been in the ecosystem since 2015. We have been doing a lot of cross-border payments since 2019. Essentially, after 3 years of doing the domestic payment, we ventured into the cross-border payment space. And that's where we are coming from. That and again, that's more of a vision of our founders. When we are talking about it, they started off the domestic PG hunt because they wanted to build a PG for a NGO essentially in Jaipur. That's where the company was founded from. But essentially they figured out there's a lot of challenges in 2014, essentially 10 years back, there were a lot of challenges. And that's where the PG or the Razorpay as an ecosystem evolved. Now, you think as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, if you think you have, and that's just an overall view that I'm trying to bring to the Razorpay ecosystem. You have employees to pay, you have obviously payments to accept. So if you come to the Razorpay ecosystem, right, I'll talk more about international payment. I'm just covering the basis here. From payment in, essentially whether domestic or international, or making vendor payouts, making employee payouts, or payroll essentially, right, payroll management. Everything gets covered from a single dashboard. And that's the beauty of what we are trying to do. Going one step forward, last year we also acquired EasyTap. So essentially we were there in the online space. We also acquired offline POS company which is EasyTap. And now it's Razorpay branded, right? So essentially the idea here is Razorpay should act as a single spot or a single solution for anybody who's looking to accept payments. whether domestic or international. What all we do in international is something that I'll cover. I think I'm audible, right? Do I need it? No worries. So just pretty much it. So just to give an idea, right? These are all the logos that you're seeing. These are specific to international transactions. Obviously, a lot of them have domestic use case as well. Obviously, that will be true. But most of them are folks who are using Razorpay for their international transactions as well. I'll just, again, very simple, right? What is international export payment? I mean, folks are sitting here, they would know any payment, anybody who's accepting payments, collecting payments from their buyers who are based off a foreign land, essentially is an export payment. Now, one idea and just a spanner in the thought, right? Do you think Zomato or a Swiggy would have a cross-border use case? And honestly, just answer yes, but they do, right? So a lot of expats living in India, if they want to order through Zomato, Swiggy, or any of such local unicorns that we know of, they would have access to only their cards, right? Which is an internationally issued card. And hence their acceptance coming. So that's why in the logo that you saw, you see a lot of Indian brands also. For example, Zomato is there, BookMyShow is there, right? So essentially, and Licious is there, right? So the reason I'm pointing out to these few specific names, because that is where you are able to relate ki boss expats hai, they would want to order something, they would want to buy something, and they don't have access to Indian payment ecosystem in general, right? That PPI wallet through UPI is something very basic, and that's also applicable only for G20 people. So that's where I wanted to point out they do have a use case. Now going back to what we are trying to do, right? One thing that you pointed out was success rate, essentially acceptance. That's one, that's also what you pointed out, right? And the other point was the settlement. They will essentially decide on their own, right? So that's something that's taken care of, right? Essentially, as of today, and that's where the differentiation comes from. We have our own local acquiring in 3 geographies, US, UK, Europe, and obviously we acquire from India. The reason I'm pointing out this is, for an Indian PG to acquire from India is always easy. You have tie-up with Indian banks, you have tie-up with a lot of local payment service providers, and essentially you are able to acquire domestically. But when this transaction hits a issuer, when I say issuer, a card issuer in US, UK, they read it was somebody from India is trying to, make a payment, and unwillingly or notoriously, India is bad for a lot of these BPO scams, right? Where people call and essentially, and that's why few of the largest banks actually, Bank of America, Lloyds, and one more, essentially I can't recall the name, they have actually blacklisted India. So our success rate in certain bins which are, or certain issuers is low, and that's where we had to go through this route where we have our own local acquiring in different geographies so that our merchants do not suffer. So the success rate that you are seeing is essentially the overall success rate. The merchants who are on global acquiring, where let's say a US issued card is being processed by a US based acquirer of ours, the success rate is phenomenally high, above 80%, which is similar to how you are able to get through Stripe or PayPal as well, right? So just wanted to call that out. That should cover. Now there's something else that we do, and that's almost a year-old product now. We have seen a lot of traction, especially in IT and SaaS companies, because the ticket size is high. The intention to pay is high. What we do essentially is we create local virtual accounts in 3 different geographies, which is US, UK, Europe. And then we also issue a 4th account, which is a Swift account, through which you can accept payments from all across the globe. So for example, if your buyer is based out of Middle East or Southeast Asia, and they do not have, and the accounts that we have issued is not in one of those geographies, they can essentially go ahead and, make a Swift payment to you. Now the difference between a Swift payment versus a card transaction will come to economies of it. A card transaction will always be costly because there are MasterCard, Visa, acquirer bank, and a lot of parties which are involved. But in case of a bank transfer, right, it's a basic Swift transfer that you are doing, right? Now, the advantage that a Swift account, and a lot of you who would be already accepting payments via your own bank, you would say, ki, what is the difference here? Aap kaise kya advantage de rahe ho? The basic advantage that we are trying to give you, right now when you are trying to make a payment, right, your end user also, the person who is remitting to you, would also be charged a Swift fee. You would also be charged a Swift fee, whether it's a shared or acquirer, whichever way it is really. But both of the parties are getting charged, right? When I'm issuing you a local bank account in different geography, for the acquirer, For the sender or essentially the remitter, their bank account is also based in US. Your bank account is also based in US. So essentially it's similar to how RTGS and EFT works in India, right? It's a free of cost service. Similarly, they treat it as a free of cost service. We have our own OPGSP license or a PACB license that now RBI calls it. And we pool the funds and bring through ICCI. It comes through the escrow mechanism, which is essentially where Razorpay does not touch the money. ICICI, our banking partner, essentially brings it and then settles it to the merchant basis the instructions that we have given. So that's something that I wanted to call out, because in this case, for now, to be honest, it's a year-old product only. We were under embargo, if nobody knows, if some of you don't know. We were getting our PACB license, so we were under embargo till December last year. 19th December is when we got our PACB license and we have been onboarding merchants. So we are running this product as a free of cost service till 31st of July. Naturally, a question will come, कि उसके बाद क्या होगा? So essentially, again, it's a bank transfer product. It is always going to be a volume-based discounting. I'm not going to hide it. It will be a volume-based discounting, but for now, till 31st of July, we are running it as a free-of-cost service so that we get to know how much of a volume a particular merchant has, and then obviously can extend the same benefit to them, right? So that's the Money Saver Export account that I was talking about. Now, just to correlate, right? A few of those, almost everybody of you is into IT or SaaS space, right? All these folks have already been using. Thankfully, they were already our existing merchants for the card use case. So enabling the bank transfer to them has been quite a easy task for us. But these folks have been using our cross-border payment solution, especially to accept payments via bank transfers. And obviously, I had to bring it to the fore so that it's accounted by or sort of trusted by people similar to you, right? Two types of cards that I issued. One is a card which will require a second factor authentication like we have in India for 100% of card, whether it's a gift card, whether it's a credit card, or even your Amazon gift voucher itself, right? Anytime you try to load a wallet or load a card, it will require a two-factor authentication. In the same case is not true for US, Europe and few other geographies. And that's where the challenge lies. If you are accepting payments where cards are not authenticated via two-factor mechanism, MasterCard Visa guidelines are such deterrent in that form that if somebody raises a chargeback request, it will be honored, irrespective of whether you have provided goods or services to the end user, they have consumed it, and worst part is they can raise the chargeback from the date of transaction 120 days later also. So you might be satisfied कि ठीक है मेरा payment आ गया है, it has been settled, no chargeback can come. But that's not true. 120 days from the date of transaction, anybody can raise a chargeback request and it will get honored if it is through a non-two-factor authenticated card. And that's where a shield comes into the play. What we have tried to do is try to recognize these bad actors. So obviously we get our risk scores. We already use one of the industry's leading risk engine, which is provided by Visa, and most of the large airlines also use them. So essentially that is where we have been able to do that, where we ask merchants to pass us few additional parameters, run it through the same risk engine that airlines use, and then come up with a result. Now, if we are letting pass a transaction and still a chargeback comes, then that's Razorpay's liability, as simple as that. So that's what we are trying to cover here. And again, I'm not going to touch base too much on this right away, because it's more of a very add-on feature, right? You accept cards if you want to be safeguarded against, chargebacks and frauds. That's where Razorpay Shield comes into the play. So, okay, I think that's pretty obvious, right? If you're accepting payments via cards or bank transfer, right, you would need an FIRS, right? That's the most basic document that you will need. So we have our FIRS. This is an FIRS of a card transaction. So it's very clearly mentioned against international cards routed through Razorpay. So whatever card, whatever currency essentially comes in, this is the format it will provide. Purpose code is mentioned, all the required details which your banker will need to essentially regularize your Softex entry, give you any EDPMS, or let's say if one of you here is a goods exporter, then close it in EDPMS and issue you EBRC. So that's the format that's acceptable, and like I said, we have been doing it since 2019, so pretty well formatted format, banks accept it. And last bit, again, pretty simple on cards, we start with T+7. When I say T+7 is, if you are new to Razorpay ecosystem on international transaction, on domestic it is T+2. But if you are live on international for the first time. For first 60 days, we do not offer you a lower TAT. The reason is the same thing that I called out about chargebacks and frauds. So if you have very high chargeback or fraud ratio, obviously that means either the service that you're providing is questionable. That's why you are getting so many frequent chargebacks and frauds. And because I called out that we will have to refund the card holder immediately, that's why we pool those funds for 7 days and then essentially settle it to you. But as and when you start using Razorpay, you age in the ecosystem, that can be reduced to T+2 as well, similar to how domestic transactions work. But to start off, and that's why very clearly I'm calling out, it will start at T+7. Bank transfers, by the way, is not T+7, that's T+2. But that's how exactly it will be. Cards payment, because there's no chargeback or fraud risk in case of bank transfers, so they will remain at T+2, but international cards will be at T+7. I think that's pretty much it. Now I'm open. I mean, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. You can ask them. I don't think so.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask, since you have already mentioned about few companies which has got blacklisted. So yes, again, when it comes to getting a platform integrated for international payments. So again, the same question will be key, because I have friends who are like living in Canada, US, Europe, and so whenever I ask for a piece of suggestion from them, so they always suggest me either go for Stripe or go for PayPal.
Right.
Because the Razorpay might not have that much. I'm sorry to say, but
No.
That much trust that as it have in India.
Yeah. As of today, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it is not covered inside because we wanted to talk about Razorpay. But if you have a PayPal account, I think I'm not sorry, it's good. If you have a PayPal account, we have partnered with PayPal and it's been running for 4 years now. If you have a PayPal account, you can sync it to the PayPal Razorpay account. At the time of checkout, as soon as somebody enters a non-Indian phone number, essentially PayPal comes as the first option and then comes the card option. So if somebody has high intention to pay through PayPal, they can still go through PayPal wallet and whatever offers PayPal runs. So they have split in 4, split in 3, and then you can use the wallet. All those mechanisms still stand true. People can still make the payment via PayPal, and then obviously they will be rerouted to your website. The only change it will happen is, because it will be a PayPal checkout, the settlement, the commercials, and everything will be with PayPal. We will show it in our reconciliation report so that you know that for a particular transaction that Razorpay has done, the payment went through PayPal. So the payment method checkout will, so you will have still a single reconciliation report. But like I said, you have that option because like I said, you have just started out. So in that case, you can have PayPal linked to the Razorpay account instead of wasting space on the checkout. Ek PayPal ka aapne dikhaya and then cards separately. You can have a single checkout where it shows cards and then somebody clicks on it. They can see PayPal also. So if they have high intention to pay through PayPal, they can still complete it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any other question?
Right. Thank you so much, Satyam. It was definitely much valuable. I would request Ravneet Ahluwalia ji to please be on dais and let's honor Satyam. Ravneet Ahluwalia ji is senior TiE member.
Yes, please. One more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
In case you want to. Right. Next we have is a master class on legal, contractual and IP diligence in implementing artificial intelligence. It should start in next 5 minutes. Kindly be seated. Call for speakers has already been gone. They'll be here in 5 minutes. So next 5 minutes, master class on legal, contractual and IP diligence in implementing artificial intelligence.